Hi, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Today, we're talking to Aneta. She is a former cosmetologist turned self-published author, and she's super passionate about sharing the lessons she's learned through her personal growth, relationships, and her own self-discovery. Her book, Blooming with Self-Love, was created to help others cultivate a mindset of confidence, resilience, and belief in their own potential. Aneta firmly believes that we become what we tell ourselves we are, and through her writing, she encourages others to embrace self-love as a foundation for personal and professional success. Let's jump into chapter 23 that's all about her journey to self-love and how this journey can ultimately help you change the way you work, feel, all the things. Let's get started. And I'm here with Aneta, and I couldn't be happier to have her on Small Biz Diaries. We actually met. I was doing an event for all of the small business owners that have been on Small Biz Diaries, and we connected through that. So it's been amazing, and I can't wait for you guys to hear about her story. So welcome, Aneta.
Thank you so much for having me, Esperanza. I'm super thankful and excited to be here.
Yes, me too. And it's perfect. I want to hear all about your journey through self-love and self-publishing your Blooming with Self-Love journal. So walk me through from the very beginning what started that or what prompted that for you.
Yeah, so I am originally from Chicago, born and raised, and I lived there up until I was like 24. And I actually was doing something completely different because now I write and I have a podcast and I talk about self-love and self-improvement. But going back, I was actually a hairstylist in Chicago and I was living a completely different life, like I had a partner back then that I was in a relationship with. I was working in the city and living there and working at the salon. And I loved what I did, but I also felt like I wanted something more. And one of like the biggest things that I really enjoyed about working at the salon was that I was able to educate my clients, because for somebody like myself or another person who likes to travel or move to different cities or even different countries, as a hairstylist, I felt like it was my responsibility to educate my clients on how to take care of their hair properly at home without me having to be there, whether it was product knowledge, whether it was styling, or even something simple as shampooing. And that was like such a big, important factor for me. But then I realized that I couldn't educate that many people if I was only able to take 3 or 4 clients a day, depending on the service. So I left the salon almost a year ago, and I left the relationship that I was in, and it wasn't really a healthy relationship. So I had a lot of healing and a lot of self love to do after it. And I really wanted to start writing. So I started writing about personal development. And that was like the light bulb for me, because that was the way that I can share my education with others without having to physically be there in person, was through writing. So then I wrote Blooming with Self-Love. It's a positive affirmations book, because I am a firm believer that you are what you tell yourself you are.
So I knew the part of your story about being a hairdresser, but the anecdote and or story tying in the hair and self-love, because it's true. Right before we started recording, Aneta made a comment about my hair, and I think that, not to divert too much, but my hair has been a big part of my self-love journey, because when I was younger, I hated my curls. I just wanted to have straight hair because everybody had straight hair, and I felt very like not included because I was the odd one out, right? So it took me a bit to fall in love with my curls and fall in love with my hair and like be proud of my hair. And that was with its own self, like a journey for me. So it's somewhat ironic, I think, and or beautiful that you mentioned that part of your origin story there with being a hairstylist and helping people with their hair and educating them and making sure they understood, how to take care of themselves. Something you don't really think about, but when you're going through your day-to-day of busyness, like you obviously want to make sure you're doing all the things you can to take care of yourself. So yes, I like love that you shared that. And I think that that's beautiful that it kind of led you to that personal development, self-love journey. What do you think has helped you like go through that journey for yourself?
I really enjoyed being at the salon, but I felt like I wanted to change. So then when I left the salon, I decided to move to another country. And that's when I started to write. And what really prompted me was I really wanted to focus on the healing journey. from my last relationship because it was a heavy one. I'll just take you back really quick. So when I was 20, like between 18 years old to 20 years old, I was working on personal development myself. Uh, I was reading self-help books, I was listening to self-help podcasts, and I thought I was growing. Well, I was, but I wasn't fully there yet. I was just taking small steps at a time. And then I met this guy when I was 20 and I was like, "Oh my god, like this is great. Like I think we can do something great together." And then flash forward to 21 years old for me, we ended up getting married and it was just so unhealthy. Like there was red flags after red flags and there was no healthy communication. So there's nothing really good about it other than he was teaching me how to build my emotional stability and how to build my character in a more mature way. And then at 23 years old, I decided that I was just going to leave and file for divorce. And that's what I did. And from there, I just really needed to start healing because I was also numbing. I was always at work because I was numbing myself from what I wanted, what I was trying to feel, or I was always going out with my friends. And that wasn't a good option, like a route either. So that's when I moved here and I just wanted to be somebody who, like, the beauty of moving to another country or another city is nobody knows who you are and you can be who you want to be. And I wanted people to see the real me, not define me based on my past.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. That's obviously part of your story, but that's also so brave that you were able to like navigate those changes and try to figure out what's the best route for you. And then I think obviously finding your journey to self-love and those affirmations, and then on top of that also moving to a different country, not even in a different city, and taking that leap of faith to do that as well. Sometimes you kind of just need that, right? Like that refresh, that change of energy, change of space and scenery and all of those things to kind of give you a different perspective too. So as a self-published author, just a quick question for you. How do you consider, or what does that look like for you when it comes to like being a small business owner? Like, is it where you're trying to navigate like still marketing your book, like all the different other components? What does that look like for you?
Yeah, so when I moved to Mexico, I moved in June, and that's when I started writing. And then I really just kind of stayed in one place until I got all my thoughts out from the book. And in August, I published it. And then I started a podcast in November. And now what I do is I write daily and I write like weekly newsletters as well to my community. And I'm just really trying to build a community because I want to give people the tools and the safe space that I needed once upon a time. I say that because I was self isolating a lot. I mean, the situations with my ex, like I would never change them for the world, but I would never go back and I would never wish them upon anybody else. But they made me who I am and I'm forever thankful for that. So I just really want to share my education with others and give them the tools they need to heal and grow.
I love that you're so intentional about that with the different components of it. And I think it's important to highlight just for everybody listening that might either want to self-publish or just has a journey that they're going through when it comes to self-love. Like, I think empowering yourself to be like, wow, like I'm doing this, I'm a self-published author, and seeing the example from Aneta that it can be done and starting to build a community, just because you're, as a self-published author, you're essentially also running a business by like creating and selling the written work that you did, but like at the same time managing your marketing and sales and like other components that comes around that. So I just want to recognize that for you and for anybody listening, because you go back to the community, which I think is the most important part and or intentional and meaningful part on your end, but it does really truly help with just navigating all of the different components of it, I'm sure.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, and it's like one of those things where it's like you have to find something that you enjoy. And I just really love talking about like the healing journey and the self-love journey because it's not talked about enough. In my opinion, I was self-isolating because I didn't want to talk to people close around me about the situations, but I was also looking for communities where I can relate with people, but I couldn't find one that I could relate with. So that's also why I created it. And it makes my heart so full because the more we will share our stories in a healthy way. Because I mean, at first, when I was like going through the divorce, I was like, oh my God, like I would just tell anyone anything. But now, when you heal and learn how to talk about it in a healthy way, then you can help so many people and they can help you. Just even sharing that connection with someone is really healing too.
Yeah, you never know what components of your story will, by just sharing it, will help someone else, which is why I love that you're creating a community around this with the podcast too, which is called Nourished Inside Out, right?
Yeah, nourished inside out, because it's like working in the salon. It's so easy when you're working at the salon to get your nails done. You have a nail girl, you have a Botox girl, you have a hair girl, you have an eyelash girl, eyebrow, lips, whatever. But nobody talks about the inside. How do you take care of your mental health, your emotional health? I don't think that's talked about enough, especially in the salon. You know, if you look the part, you can do good hair and you get along with your clients, that's kind of enough. What about after? I remember I would be so drained after work sometimes. I would literally just drop my bag and literally fall asleep with my makeup on and my work clothes because I would be so tired because I wasn't properly nourishing myself with the right nutrients and food. I wasn't listening to audios as much as I should have or reading books. So I think that inside is just as important as the outside.
Yeah, I instantly think about the movie Inside Out with all of the different emotions that are going on in your head, just because there's a lot, that we're navigating on a day-to-day basis. And I think sometimes if we don't take the time to reflect or even just connect with someone about what you're going through, it can lead to self-isolation or just like not really dealing with the emotions properly. And so that leads me to my next question. What does self love mean to you now after obviously the journey of going through blooming with self love and the affirmations?
I think you should always date yourself. It doesn't matter if you are in a relationship, if you're married, or if you're trying to get back into the dating scene. You should date yourself always. You know, you've been married for 10 years. Take yourself out on a date by yourself. Go get yourself your favorite lunch, your favorite coffee, and do those things for yourself, because when you fill yourself up with the things that you enjoy, you can bring more joy to that person that you're with, or you can attract that person that you're looking to meet or you're looking to build a relationship with. Just never stop dating yourself, you know? It doesn't have to be expensive. Get your favorite ice cream, get your nails done if you can. Whatever makes you happy.
Yeah, I love that. It's like romanticizing your life,
Yeah.
but taking it in a different perspective. And I think, as most of our listeners might be small business owners or have an entrepreneurial spirit or anything like that, I think it's equally as important to do that and fill your cup in other ways outside of your business. Just because if you're constantly in the day to day of like what you're doing with your business and you're not filling your cup in other ways, like I just think that it could get a bit exhausting or like unfulfilling. So finding ways to like feel fulfilled both inside your business and outside your business, I think is very important. But the easiest way that you just broke it down of dating yourself is just, no matter what stage in your life you're at, is just so important. What's been the biggest thing that you've learned now that you've launched your podcast with Nourished Inside Out, just from, speaking to others about topics similar to this?
Something that I've learned is that there's a whole community of people out there who get you. Just because your close personal inner circle doesn't get you, it's okay. You know, I think that's why the first step I always recommend is to heal and heal those wounds. You don't have to be fully healed, but if you learn how to share your story in a healthy way, you're going to find people who get you and that you get them. And you guys can help each other grow, whether it's a friend or a family member, business partner, whatever. It's just really heal those wounds as much as you can, because it's only going to set you up for success in the long run. No matter what it is, a business venture, a new relationship, a new job, heal those wounds. Because I think also a lot of times when I was going through my divorce, I was a hairstylist. Well, what do the clients want to hear? I was going to say it in Spanish. I hope that's okay. But
That's fine.
it's
Yeah.
chismecito, you know?
The tea or
That's
the teas.
I forget in English sometimes. Yeah, like they want the chismecito, but then it's like, they know if they come to you every week or every month if something's up. That I also wasn't talking about it in healthy ways. It was just kind of the chisme. So yeah, really heal those wounds so you can fully show up for others and they can show up for you in ways that you need.
Yeah, the cheese man, the tea.
Yeah.
The tea. I like it. So, what stage would you say you're at now? I'm curious with your self love journey now, having had time to, be in a different city and really unpack all those wounds or heal from all those wounds. Like, where are you at right now with your journey in self love?
I think I'm at the point where I'm learning from others and also helping others. And that just it makes my heart so full of so much gratitude because like I said, all I really want to do is just share it with others. And the fact that I can help others with it, it makes me happy. I remember when I moved here, I was probably 2 months into living here so far, and my friend called me. We used to work together. I haven't talked to him in 7, 8 years, almost 10 years. And he was just telling me about all the things that he was going through with his wife. And I was like, I was able to be there for him and to help him and encourage him because the things that he was telling me were very similar to what I was going through with my ex. And it's just really fulfilling knowing that I can take that hurt and now help others with it.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. I think it showcases that in your book too, just because I think that there's the way it's structured, there's like a daily bloom and then an action item, right? And so you almost get because it's a big component of it, right? Like you can have the positive affirmations or, surround yourself by positive energy, but you yourself also have to start with the momentum or do something about it to kind of like change your habits too. So I like how the structure is, also having an action item and also having like a space and to reflect within that itself. So I love that you kind of translated that over to your book and the positive affirmations that you put in there.
Thank you. Yeah, and it's also helpful if you can write it out too. That's why I left like 3 pages so people can write because just brain dump. It doesn't have to make sense. Just get your thoughts out there, especially if you don't want to talk to anyone and you don't have a dog, because if you tell a dog, they're not going to tell anybody. But if you don't have a dog, then just brain dump, write them out.
Yeah, it helps so much too. Sometimes if you're like really upset or just like trying to brain dump about a specific thing going on in your life, and then a week later you go back and read it and you're like, wow, that I was blowing it out of proportion, or like I really wasn't coming from a good space. You're able to then look back at that text or all the things that you wrote down and kind of reflect on that as well. So it's almost like a good double win. So yeah, I love brain dumping. That's one of my favorite things to do in my diaries and journals.
And make sure you put a lock on it.
Yes. My first diary was the Winnie the Pooh diary with a lock on it.
So sweet.
Back in that time, I was just writing about, how I went to the park that day and it was the best day of my life and all that stuff. So times definitely change, but still, I love picking it up every once in a while just to kind of like give myself perspective with my inner child.
Beautiful. Even as a young kid, like journaling is such a powerful thing.
Yeah, exactly. Um, okay, my next question, I guess, is what advice would you give to someone that has trouble with self-love or giving themselves the love that they deserve?
I think really sitting down with yourself and just accepting where you're at. Something that I used to be a dancer when I was growing up, and I remember sometimes my dance teachers would turn the lights off in the studio and they would make us go sit in front of the mirror. And we had to stare at ourselves for 10 minutes in the mirror and tell ourselves things, whether it was negative or positive. And sometimes it was negative and sometimes it wasn't. And sometimes it was positive. But I think just sitting down with yourself, whether it's in the mirror, in your bedroom, and just really accepting where you're at. Like, I had to accept with myself, like, I'm 23 and I'm divorced. Like, most people don't even like process that at 23 years old. When I turned 21, I turned 21 in the pandemic. I didn't even go out. Like, I started going out when I was 23 after the divorce. So it's like, I felt like I just had to accept that that's where I was. and it was a small phase, but it wasn't going to define who I am. It wasn't me in the future. That was just an old version of myself that stays in the past. I'm going to look back on it to learn from it, but I'm not going to stay there because you can't take it with you. And something that like I was thinking about earlier today was like, if you have an apartment, you sign a lease, you get the keys, happy camper. You live there for a year and you find another apartment that you're going to move to. Okay, so when you move to the new apartment, you get the new keys. And if something goes wrong in that apartment, you don't go to the old apartment trying to open the old door with the new key. It's not going to open. So that once that door closes for a reason and it closes at the right time. Keep moving forward. Your life is moving forward, not backwards. And sometimes, a lot of times, we want to go backwards, but that door already closed, and we need to remind ourselves that was a past version of myself that once existed, but that version doesn't exist anymore. And my new life is ahead of me, not behind me.
Literally feel like that could have been a spoken word just within itself. I truly think that it's just resonating, I think, a lot because it's important to evolve, and sometimes you do get stuck with who you were in a previous time in your life, and sometimes that's even holding you back from moving forward. So really making sure you're working through the self-love within all the different stages of your life, all the different milestones, all, everything can help tremendously. And for our business owners or non-business owners, it's like it helps you attract the people who you want to attract and or step more confidently into who you are so that way you can get more clarity or you can get more guidance to help you get to that next step or that next goal for your business. So I think it's so relevant in and out, but I think it's important to highlight as well for the business owner side of things. But yeah, I can't thank you enough because I feel like your journey and what you've shared is not only so relevant and can help so many people, but at the same time, you've done such a beautiful job translating all of that healing into different ways that you can help another people in not just the same scenario that you're in. Like it's relevant to so many other things that are happening in people's lives today. That I think that's the part where it's like you're building that community around that safe space, around that like self-love that you've been able to learn and that other people can get to as well within their own. I just really wanted to take the time to highlight that. And you gave us such actionable things that people can do, whether it's looking at yourself in the mirror or just like writing down some prompts and word dumping. You have so many different opportunities and ways to be able to express that, finding community, listening to one of Aneta's Nourished Inside Out episodes. Like there are so many things that you can do to really work bit by bit, step by step, however you're most comfortable to really continue that self-love journey. So I have 3 questions that I want to ask you that I ask every guest on Small Biz Diaries. So the first one is, what does it mean to you as a self-published author, small business owner, when someone supports you and your book in this case, and or your podcast?
It means a lot. It makes my heart so full because we're all on this journey together. Like we're in this together. Like I said, like don't ever feel like you're alone. If you ever feel like you're alone, go reach out to somebody, go find a book, find a community, a podcast, because all I really want to do is just share similar experiences and grow and heal with others and really create that safe space, because I felt like for the longest time I didn't have a safe space. So it really means the world to me knowing that I can help others along on their journey.
Amazing. The next question I have for you is, we're all about peeling back the layers at Small Biz Diaries. So is there something that you're currently struggling with that you'd love to share in terms of your own journey?
One of the things that sometimes I struggle with is it can be a little challenging for me because like I'm like a really type A person. So it's like if I have my mind to do something, like I want to do it and I want to figure it out. But sometimes it can be challenging when like the people around you don't want to support you. And I think that's just like one of those things where it's like you have to learn to have compassion and grace and just pray that one day that they will support you in your decisions, especially like with me living in a different country. Like my parents may not fully understand it yet, but I can just hope and pray that one day they will.
Yeah. Um, that, I mean, it's a big step for anyone, right? But at the end of the day, you have to do what's best for you. And I've made some leaps of faith like that in like my experiences. And I feel like as hard as it is for so many different reasons, it's like at the end of the day, it's not going to affect anybody as directly as it's going to affect you. Like, you are the main character in your life. Like, it's important to make decisions for you, obviously keeping values and other people in mind that mean a lot to you, but at the same time, like, again, no, your decision's not really going to directly affect anyone as much as it's going to affect you. So I'm glad that you're thinking about it in that way, because it's what it should be. And it was a brave step to take. Okay, last question is, what advice do you have, in your case, if anybody wants to self-publish, what advice do you have for that?
It doesn't have to be perfect. Growing up, English was my second language. English teachers told me, Aneta, your writing is bad. Aneta, like, you should stay after school and get some extra help with English and writing. And the grammar doesn't matter. The grammar can always be fixed. Find someone to double check it, or you can even have ChatGPT check the grammar for you. Like, it doesn't have to be perfect. What matters is that you get your message across. So I always recommend find what you're passionate about. How can you add value in that area? And get the message on paper. It can be adjusted, the grammar can be fixed, and it will flow. So just start with, where can you make a difference based on your personal experiences or your education?
And nothing's going to be perfect. Like, there is no such thing. So no matter, I'm sure you can look at your book now and say, I would have done this differently, or I would have done this differently. But obviously, it's still making an impact and still out there. So it didn't stop you from, putting it out there and having people resonate with it. So yeah, I really appreciate that advice. Well, I can't wait for everybody to be able to connect with you. I'll make sure to leave your podcast links, as well as your Amazon link for your book, and any other way people can connect with you. But anything else that you want to share, say, for, upcoming things you have going on, and or just something about self-love that we didn't get to touch upon that you want to?
Yeah, I mean, if I could leave everybody with one piece of advice, I would say just do what makes you happy. The road may be lonely for a little bit, but it's only a short period of time, and you will eventually find your people, you will eventually find your path, and you will eventually find your purpose. So don't give up on your dreams. I always say, you won't be given anything you can't handle. So if you can't stop dreaming about it, go after it. You will make it work.
Yep, I agree wholeheartedly. So yeah, thank you so much for sharing space and sharing all that you've gone through, and how that's reflected to your own journey within self-love, and how others can really make an impact with their self-love journey. So yeah, I really appreciate you being here. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. It's been a pleasure, and I'm thankful to get to share this space with you, Esperanza.